Most people think hospitals are where you go to be saved. But what if I told you some of the scariest stories ever told happened inside these walls? Tonight's confession comes from a patient who was told they were just anxious until their heart stopped. This story is reconstructed from real medical failures, missed diagnoses, and documented hospital errors. You're listening to Code Blue Confessions, where the most terrifying stories aren't fiction, they're charted. The ER nurse didn't even look at me when she called my name. Tanya? I stood up too fast. My legs wobbled. My shirt was soaked through with sweat, even though it was February. I can't breathe right, I said. My chest hurts. Something's wrong. She handed me a clipboard. Fill this out. I almost dropped the pen. This had started 8 hours earlier. Chills, shaking, pain in my back. I thought it was the flu, but then my heart started racing so hard I could feel it in my throat. By the time my roommate drove me to the ER, I was dizzy and confused. They put a pulse ox on my finger. 92%. Not great, but not alarming enough for anyone to care. Any anxiety? The nurse asked. No, this isn't panic. I feel like I'm dying. She typed something into the computer. They left me in the waiting room for 3 hours. People came and went. A man with a broken arm was taken back before me. A kid with a sprained ankle went ahead of me. I started shivering violently. When I finally got to triage, my blood pressure was 84/52. The nurse frowned. Probably dehydrated. They wheeled me to a hallway bed, not even a room, and put in an IV. No blood cultures, no lactic acid, no doctor. I kept saying, something is really wrong. A PA stopped by for maybe 30 seconds. Probably a viral illness. We'll give fluids and send you home. Then my vision started going black. I vomited all over the floor. Suddenly there were alarms. My heart rate jumped to 160. My blood pressure dropped again. Someone finally ordered labs. But by then it was already too late. The results came back quietly on a computer screen. Lactate, 6.8 white blood cells, 23,000 creatinine, climbing classic septic shock. But no one was looking. I had a kidney infection that had spread into my bloodstream. Bacteria was now attacking my organs. My body was drowning from the inside. A nurse walked past and said, "She looks worse." They finally called a doctor. He took one look at me and said, "Why hasn't she been started on antibiotics?" No one answered. My blood pressure crashed. The last thing I remember is a cold rush in my arm and someone yelling, "Code Blue!" My heart stopped. I didn't feel pain, just a strange floating sensation, like I was being pulled away from myself. I remember hearing voices muffled and far away. Pulse? No pulse. Starting compressions. I woke up 2 days later in ICU. A breathing tube was down my throat. My hands were restrained. Machines were breathing for me. A nurse leaned over and said softly, "You went into septic shock. Your heart stopped." I later learned they never drew blood cultures. They never gave antibiotics. They dismissed me as anxious. The infection nearly killed me. Before I was discharged, a doctor admitted quietly, "If you'd waited another 10 minutes, you wouldn't be here." No one apologized. The chart said, "Delayed recognition of sepsis." That's what they call it when the hospital almost kills you. I walked into the emergency room at 11:42 p.m. By 6:15 a.m., I was being pronounced dead, and no one understood how it happened, except the doctor who sent me home. I had been in a car accident earlier that evening. Nothing dramatic. Someone rear-ended me at a stoplight. My airbag didn't deploy. I didn't hit my head. I even walked away. But 2 hours later, my stomach started hurting. Not sharp pain, a deep pressure, like something heavy was sitting inside me. I felt nauseous, dizzy, cold. My sister insisted we go to the ER. The waiting room was packed, people coughing, crying, a man holding a bloody towel to his head. But when I checked in, I told them, I was in a car accident. My abdomen hurts. I feel faint. They took my vitals. Blood pressure, 96/60 heart rate, 118. The nurse frowned for half a second, then typed. Probably just anxiety from the crash, she said. I was put in a room. A PA came in. He pressed lightly on my stomach. Any pain? Yes. Where? Everywhere. He ordered an X-ray, not a CT scan, not an ultrasound, not blood work, just an X-ray. It came back normal. He smiled. Looks good. You're probably just sore. I was discharged with ibuprofen. No one checked my blood again. No one checked my hemoglobin. No one realized I was bleeding internally. My spleen had ruptured. A slow internal bleed was filling my abdomen. With every minute, my blood volume was dropping. That's why I felt faint. That's why my heart was racing. That's why my pressure was low. I collapsed in my bathroom at 4 a.m. My sister found me on the floor, barely breathing. When paramedics arrived, I was in shock. By the time we reached the hospital again, I had no pulse. Later, after I was gone, my family got my medical records. They showed it clearly. Car accident, abdominal pain, low blood pressure, high heart rate, classic internal bleeding. But the ER never ordered a CT scan. They sent me home to die.
I didn't wake up screaming. I couldn't. The tube was already in my throat. All I could do was feel myself suffocating. I went into the hospital for pneumonia. That's what they told me. My chest hurt. I couldn't catch my breath. They admitted me to the ICU just to be safe. Within hours, I was on a ventilator. They sedated me, then they forgot me. When I woke up, it was dark. The ventilator wasn't breathing for me. I could feel air barely trickling into my lungs, like trying to breathe through a straw filled with glue. My chest was burning. I tried to move my hands. They were tied. I tried to scream. The tube filled my throat. My body panicked, heart racing, lungs screaming, mind awake. But no one came. The ventilator had been disconnected. No alarm was sounding. Someone had silenced it. I watched the oxygen monitor drop. 92, 88, 84. I started to black out. Just before everything went dark, a nurse walked in. Oh my God. They reconnected the tubing. Air slammed into my lungs. I lived. But the chart later showed ventilator disconnected for over 6 minutes. Sedation inadequate. Patient awake during hypoxia. That 6 minutes could have killed me. People have died that way. They called it an equipment issue. But I know the truth. Someone silenced the alarm. Someone forgot me.
Every story you just heard was reconstructed from real medical failures, real patients, and real moments where someone was almost, or completely, lost. These aren't just horror stories, they're warnings. If any of these stories felt familiar, if you've ever had a hospital experience that still haunts you, we want to hear it. Leave a comment below. Your story could be the next confession. And if you want to keep hearing the truth from behind hospital doors, Make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a Code Blue. This is Code Blue Confessions, where survival is never guaranteed and every story is real.